Hello and welcome to the podcast. My name is Peggy van de Plasch. Today we have a treat. My guest Narendra Pachkhédé is here with us. Hi, Narendra.
Hello.
Thank you for taking the time. So you really are one of those rare thinkers because you do not fit into one box, which is something I really love. You're going between art, between politics, cinema, literature, global affairs. So you're really one of a kind. And you're asking us to really look at how culture helps us make sense of a world that is more and more fractured, rushed, disoriented. So you wrote a book, which I loved. Here it's there, Form as History. I loved it, you know that. You were kind enough to even autograph it. I'm probably one of the lucky few with an autograph. And that book is it's a slim book, but as you know, like it took me a long time to go through it because many concepts are, I would say, quite complicated for people like me who might not have a background, and very, very erudite. I absolutely love it. So you really come at us with that question: what happens when we are surrounded by images, by archives, by news, by information, but somehow we feel less and less connected to the moral force of history? And I was also lucky to hear you speak at the Art Gallery of Ontario. The lecture was called What Art Can Ask of Us, Why Seeing Is Not Enough. And it really stayed with me. And you know that we had the chance to speak a few times since then, which is why you're on the podcast, because it's not really just about art. It's really about attention, memory, responsibility, imagination. So today we're going to have a great free-flowing conversation about how to think more carefully in an age that is really designed to distract us. So thank you again for being here. Sorry, that was a long introduction. I wanted to really put the context around who you are and what you're doing.
Thank you, Peggy. It's always wonderful to have uh, a very raw, unpretentious conversations with you. And so I'm very thankful for this opportunity to have a conversation with you and through you to with your audiences and people who follow you, as well as have this opportunity to talk a bit about myself, my work, or whatever comes across in this
Yeah.
conversation.
So when we chatted, there is one thing that was very interesting to me because, as I said, you don't fit neatly into a box. You had such an interesting professional and personal life. And one thing that was very obvious for me was serendipity. And serendipity was so important in your life. You know, we're used to look at A, B, C, D, you know, what is the magic recipe to become Narendra. And you're like, well, actually, there is none. It's serendipity. So what does that word means to you? What does it mean to live your life around serendipity?
Let's put on a logician's hat, and maybe I would say what it doesn't mean. So I don't think of serendipity as something like simply luck or a
Mm-hmm.
coincidence kind of thing. I think of it as what becomes possible when one is attentive enough to notice the unexpected,
Mm-hmm.
which is something which demands. That means, yes, we all come across many things, whether we are just standing at a crossroad in life, figuratively or
Yeah.
literally by a roadside,
Yeah.
or if we are, if we are just, let's say, you're walking through a bookshop and you come across another book which you didn't even intend to look at, but it suddenly changes your life, just
Yes.
picking up something, or similarly meeting people or whatever it is. So what I mean by the hence by what I'm trying to uh, uh, underline is it is not just one's own volition that encounters luck. That's not what
Mm-hmm.
it is. It is far more about being present in that moment, which becomes far more demanding, as I said, and attentive enough to notice the unexpected in that
Yeah.
sense. Oh, I
Yeah.
noticed that book. I noticed that person. I catch that conversation. I
Yeah.
see what was the color of the curtain. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
so it is it when we, and unfortunately we are not in that age. We our the whole focus, though paradoxically called
Yeah. Yeah.
attention economy, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with attention.
Yeah,
Anyway,
absolutely.
that's what
It's
I mean by
it's more of a
serendipity.
distraction economy, and I think you made a very good point linking serendipity and being present.
Yeah.
Because if you're in your phone or if you're not attentive to what's going on, you're not going to be able to seize the opportunity. I think there is also something else is that, at least speaking with you, is that you still have this sense of awe and wonder. Serendipity also require you to look at a book and say, oh, that's great, like, versus, okay, I was just looking for my book number A. So it's being present, but also being curious. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Intellectually curious, but also optimistic enough to think that what you're going to do might lead to something interesting.
Yeah. So you're right. Like, so it doesn't imply just, the idea of connecting to the present in a very literal sense of the term. It essentially, the present is not just physicality of being somewhere. That's not what I imply by the term present, but it is the ability to inhabit
Mm-hmm.
a moment, you know, deeply enough uh, uh, for it to disclose more than what appears on surface, right?
Yeah.
And that is the moment that applies to what you were trying to say, the curious, uh, or the capacity to inquire.
Yes.
So the curiosity on one hand and idea of inquiry on the other hand, they all go together. So, as well as I would add the third wheel to it, the sense of wonder. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need to wonder. Like, I mean, I definitely don't sit at home in a pessimistic, morbid frame of mind. No, you have to, you keep reflecting, keep engaging, but you're in some there is a you're being present in the moment, and that being present in the moment is a let's say is a very philosophically loaded kind of
Yes,
state, and then
absolutely.
it can be nicely peeled in different ways. Literature peels it differently, art peels it differently, philosophers peels it differently, the news media peels it at a very surface level, for that matter.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so when and where does historical consciousness enter then? Because if we go back to not only your book, but also, the thread of this idea of we live more disconnected. We have so much information that actually we're not really looking anymore. We're not, it's just like another war, another crisis, another. So we have more data points, but we're taking less into account. So, do you want to tie that up for us?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I might sound a little simplistic, but fair enough for the sake of
Yeah.
the argument and conversation. So, I mean, to say that the idea of serendipity for me equates to the notion of historical consciousness uh, is not totally out of place. What I imply by that is like historical consciousness is also is the awareness that we are never living in an empty present.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is what historical consciousness is about. We are not living in an empty present. Every moment carries inheritances, memories, conflicts,
Mm-hmm.
aspirations, and unfinished histories at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, to to experience that moment is very important, and that's how I connect it with, as
Mm-hmm.
I spoke about serendipity, like in a way, in a very simplistic sense of
Yeah.
the term. Like that notion of serendipity for me is in a way connected to this understanding of historical consciousness.
Yes. Yes.
And that is what we need to. How are we present? Are we present in our times that we are living in?
Yeah.
And of course, you ask this question to 10 people, 10 people are going to give you 10, all 10 are going to say yes. But each of the 10 responses would be very different.
Uh-huh.
So, different in the sense its connotations would be different. And so
Absolutely.
I think that is where it all kinds of uh, like goes up in terms of, and not just up in terms of complexity of what one is really exploring and
Absolutely.
dealing with. Yeah.
And
So that's how I position historical consciousness.
which, like makes a lot of sense, because once again, if you take me, exactly same same place, and we're not going to see the same serendipity, is not going to look the same, because our history is different, our backgrounds are different. And so that's something I really also find interesting with your background, is that you grew up across multiple countries, cities, um, that shaped you in a certain way. Like, I do believe that the places we live in shapes us. So how do you connect the dots, I would say, between what you experienced and who you became?
Yeah, I mean, uh, absolutely. Like as as with serendipity, as I said, it is not simply luck. It is what attention makes possible, and
Exactly.
hence even these kind of life across different worlds also makes you in a whole different way. And what I would be like, what I imply by that is we all carry invisible geographies within us,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is the package
Yeah.
that we all carry. And like it's like a sack, or
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
however you want to call it, see it, visualize it.
Yeah.
Yes, I did grow up in different parts of the world, largely first in India and moved around, and then west onwards. But uh, the thing is, as I said, we carry these geographies with us. We carry the cities we grew up in, the stories we inherited, the books we read,
Mm-hmm.
the films we watched, the food we ate, the arguments we overheard. So all these elements are like, it's a kind of, what I would say, it's like an imagery that we
Absolutely.
package it in a way that. And I would also add a caution, or more as a caveat. These are not perfect ones. What we carry, the package, so to say, the imageries or the memories, but they are generally selective. And that's where the idea of nostalgia and history
Yes.
start parting. So we
Yes.
may have a nostalgia. Nostalgia is not an alternative. Nostalgia is a remembered thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As against a historical
Yeah.
alternative. So these are deeper philosophically loaded concepts which require time to elaborate and all. But that's what I imply when I say that we carry these geographies with us as we grow,
Yeah.
along with a lot of other things, and the places do leave. I mean, for instance, I have restaurant stories across so many cities across the world,
Yeah.
personal, and they are all worth a film.
Yeah.
Every and strangely, I'm forgetting which was the Russian film. There was a beautiful shot of this guy who was the regular client at this restaurant, and he goes there, and suddenly the waiter comes after a bit, and he comes with a platter. It's a beautiful shot, like on top. You're just seeing this throughout, and he's sitting, and the platter comes, and the waiter says, "The chef has made this special for you," and we don't see what it is.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "You have to cut. You know, it is a cake or something." And the client is quite surprised, and he is reluctant to cut the cake. and it is much later that it is revealed on a top-down shot. It is his own face. So to cut
Oh,
his face,
so you're cutting your face. Yeah, that's not very exciting.
yeah, but it talks about the relationship between the chef and the client who was
Yeah,
there.
I see.
So
Uh,
this is a film. I have many such personal stories of mine with restaurant owners and all
yeah,
across, be it Brussels or be it in Paris,
yeah.
or you name it, New York, London,
Uh,
Vancouver, God knows,
I
multiple
like.
places in
I,
India, whatever it
I
is.
like how you think in short, like, and that's where we can see
Cinematic.
your
Yeah.
cinema artistic and literature to some degree background. Were you always drawn to that, to art, to cinema, to books?
Yeah, deeply, yeah, deeply.
Yeah.
I was lucky, like I grew up, apart from watching Indian cinema, but I also like Polish, French, Japanese, Ozu's work, and other world cinema, very interesting. There was a lovely, what you call, what is known as film society movement in India. So we were really exposed. Like, I mean, I have had some, like, let's say my generation Polish folks, I'm able to have quite a engaging conversation, say with Vaida, for instance, or with some Czech. I can talk of Kundera
Yeah.
endlessly, like,
Yeah.
uh, but because we have grown up on that.
Yeah.
So, and apart from that, I did read voraciously. Like I still read voraciously, at least
Yeah.
200 pages a day,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
well,
is
and you're also a critic. I love reading your which, to be honest, is also very dense. I mean, I love your writing because it pushes me to be better. I would say, like, it's not easy. It's not easy reading so many connections with other book context, movies, art. So it's really a
and
360 when you're reviewing a book.
yeah, it came during my university years, and the best way to earn pocket money was to do book reviews
Okay.
or film reviews.
That's true. Is it how
and
you ended up in that?
and yeah, so I would just do those reviews
Ah,
then, since then.
okay.
So that's how it is an old habit. Like
Okay.
I hold a book, for instance. If I have a book, I know I can give a lecture on how to read a book.
Uh-huh.
So, and which, not that I have come up with, my professor taught me. Like you look at the front page, you look at the back page, and then you look at these details, what these details tell you. And like he got technical
Ah,
about it, not in a
okay.
literal sense
No,
of the
just,
term,
okay, okay, okay,
but
okay.
trying to explain like just 3 pages and how it tells you about the book. And this guy, he was one of the foremost international relations theorists coming from Geneva, explaining how to hold the book and read the book. So that was the kind of training which happened in the city where I grew up. So
Ah,
it all helped, like
yeah.
over a period of time. So now it is, you look at books and
Second
films or
nature.
art, it's just second nature. It just boom, boom, it just comes.
But you know,
References comes, everything like quick.
what I find very impressive with you is you're a sponge. So any opportunity to learn, you're gonna get something out of any interaction, sometimes, and it's not to compare, but if I think about, okay, what did I learn when I was at school? I don't think I even remember going to school, to be honest, like I was very passive. So talk about being present once again, is that you're so engaged with life. You're very engaged with life. That's one of the big difference I see between you and most of the people I know, including myself, is that you're not just present, but you're really, sorry, that doesn't sound very good, but sucking life dry, like you're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Whether you do that with wine or whether you do it with food, you have to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I would give all credit to my professors. I'm like, even in undergraduate, like not to suggest my school days, secondary and post secondary. Of course, they were all excellent and very formative, very. But it is my university professors. Like, I mean, they taught me how to think. I
Yeah.
still, at
Uh-huh.
every moment, like one of the professor used to get into a trance while teaching, and his
Oh,
lectures were
wow.
never 20 minutes. They were minimum 2 hours.
Okay.
And and suddenly his foot will go over, on the side table,
Oh,
and
yeah.
his eyes will go off, like it was theatrical. And he would say, this is not me speaking, this is such and such thinker
Yeah.
speaking to you,
Yeah.
like, so it, I mean, like, there was a drama. So it was
Yeah.
not dry knowledge or some information to be regurgitated somewhere else through exams or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is what I found for me, this idea that what is the notion of thinking? What
Yeah.
is the idea of inquiry? How do you produce cultures of inquiry?
Mm-hmm,
There is not
mm-hmm.
one way of inquiry. There are multiple cultures of inquiry. And then what gets produced through that inquiry? Now, and these are the kind of broader philosophical concerns
Yeah.
that I have, which I pursue through multiple modalities of that
Yeah.
are available to me, and that is what it is. So,
Yeah.
but I give all due credit to my teachers.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. So you talk about writing. You talk, obviously writing your book, which I recommend highly. Writing book reviews. So when did writing become important to you? And is it John Didion, I think, was saying that she writes to know what she thinks. Do you? And I'm the same, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't know that's what I was thinking. It's because I'm writing it. Uh, So is it a way for you to develop your thinking?
Writing became less of a profession and more a habit of attention for me.
Okay.
It is how I think through
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
world. So it is, writing is like an act of thinking. The moment you put a pen to the paper, the most profound things in the world look like, you start confronting them in a whole different light.
Yeah, yeah,
Something which is very trivial or easy becomes complex, and something which is very complex, you get an handle to deal with.
yeah,
So it is a more a habit of attention that I would put it as. And that's why, like, I write because the world is too complex.
yeah. So
And that,
breaking
so
down. Mm-hmm,
yeah, so it is a bizarre way I see the world through writing,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so
Yeah,
that's why I write. And it is, I mean, it's all connected. It's not an exclusive kind of, you read, write,
exactly.
in,
Yeah,
inquire. They're all connected things. They're not exclusive zone,
yeah.
but each has its own meditative purpose.
Mm-hmm,
Each has
mm-hmm.
its own processes through
Exactly.
which
Yeah,
how you engage, how
yeah,
you are there, present, how you are attentive, how you are able to uh, confront even a contrarian kind of an idea.
yeah,
Uh, so of course, it's not one idea that prevails. There are multiple ideas at play, and so it's a way of uh, engaging with those sets
yeah,
of ideas, and making sense of it at the end of it. It's not a
yeah.
way to necessarily come to a conclusion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That
mm-hmm.
would make the world a boring place, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Agreements are worst thing. Consensus are horrible.
yeah. Um,
If everything is consensus oriented, everything is
what's
settled,
the point?
agreed
Yeah, yeah,
upon,
exactly.
and that's why, as I think, what's his name, our um, uh, John Ralston's soul wrote the famous book, Voltaire's Bastard. Uh,
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
the Voltaire's Bastard
Yeah,
is
yeah,
all about, if politics was so rational,
yeah.
then hey, the world would be very different. It is not.
Exactly. It's like the market being efficient. The same, it's the same point. It's like
You said it. You said
still
it, right?
still haven't figured out that people are everything but
Yeah. So,
rational. Yeah.
so yeah. So, and that's why irrationality is, it has a negative connotation to it, but um, I don't know. I don't mind having a chat with an irrational person.
Yeah. Oh, it's probably more
I,
interesting actually. than someone who's rational, let's be honest. I'd like to jump to art, and I'm not saying writing is not an art, but you're also curating art. I mean, actually, I met your work before I met you with the exhibit at the AGO of Rambir Sidhu, so which you curated. So first, I would ask a question: why art still matters?
Yeah, like it is exactly like how writing in itself is a struggle against the flattening of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Art matters because it slows perception.
Exactly.
It allows us to encounter something rather than merely consume it. You
Yes.
know, now, of course, there are different kinds of art. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
generalizing here,
Yep. Yep.
but
Yep.
uh, but broadly speaking, I mean, it also always depends on who is the beholder of the view, so to say, or who is the spectator, or who is the viewer, or who is engaging with art per se. So it depends on that. If you're approaching it purely as a commodity, then it's something else. If you're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
approaching it as an experience, it is something else. When we travel, go around to museums or anywhere, I mean, I have come across many a situation. I have been also in those situations. You are sitting in front of a painting for hours. Some people are weeping away. Some people are
Yeah.
writing pages after pages of how it. So for some, it could be very therapeutic,
Mm-hmm.
but or how the current the phrase goes, like like they have instrumentalized art,
Mm-hmm.
in a neoliberal way of thinking, like
Yep. Yeah.
art for health, art for mental health, art for this, that. I mean, that's not something, let's say, meaningful or well placed, because no artist gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to cure somebody's mental health
Yeah. Yeah.
issues.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
What I'm trying to say, it is nothing related with the artistic intent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How it is deployed and how it is used institutionally, etc., is a different ball game. That is not art.
Yeah.
That is instrumentalization,
Yeah.
making it into a tool. So all these elements have confused people about
Yeah.
how art is, what art is, and how art has to be engaged with, etc. And so I am more interested in understanding, or at least bringing into that experience, this notion of how you how do you slow down that perception process
Mm-hmm.
in that form of an encounter, and it is again going back to my notion of being present. So
Absolutely.
you are being present, not in a fleeting way.
Yeah. It's the
You're not.
opposite
Oh,
of an escape.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
really this
Yeah.
anchoring. And that's, I
Yeah.
think, everything you've been telling us, it comes back to this idea of a lot of information, a lot of distraction. How do you have practices and how do you use this art writing in order to be more engaged, more present, and enjoy what's in front of you?
Yeah, it's true, because art can help us to return us to the world with greater attentiveness. That is what
Yeah.
art does,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because it beckons us to be there, be present, and that is what it is calling, and that is
Mm-hmm.
what most people are ignoring, because they're busy taking a selfie with
Exactly.
art, as a backdrop. You know,
Yeah. Uh,
so they have already dislodged art and centered
yeah.
themselves, and
Yeah.
it is their image with the art as background is going around.
Yeah.
So if you want to help an artist or art, stop taking selfies in front of artwork.
Yeah.
I mean, that will make, because doing the selfie business in uh, it is like a social proof you are
Mm-hmm.
offering to the world. Hey, I was here or there,
Yeah.
etc. Validating your own self. You're not validating anything else.
It's not about the art.
So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so it is not nothing to do with art. So I understand marketing, I understand platform
Yep. Yep.
algorithms, I understand those things, but this is how it takes you away from art.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm reading. Actually, I'm listening to that audiobook, "The Death of the Artist," which I'm sure you're very familiar with, and um, it's interesting this idea of, well, to become a commercially or professional artist or commercially viable artist. Well, you need to spend less and less time on your art and more time on your marketing. And so it's a bit to your point. All things have been institutionalized, the platform, the selfie, all these things that are very insidious. I don't think people realize, or because if you really listen to, as you know, I was a VC, so I invested a lot in tech. And if you listen to really the tech pundit, they're going to say it's easier to be an artist now than at any time in the world. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure that is the case. What's your thought about that?
I mean, you mentioned Death of Artists, like in that book by William Derosovich. I think he kind of maps out and kind of explains the fallacy of many of these assumptions. You know, for instance, by after 90s, with the iPod and subsequent things happening, let's say 21st, forget about 20th century, 21st
Yep,
century,
yep.
the political economy of art kind of totally changed in terms of its production. And so what happens is like issues of labor, artistic labor, issues of the way uh, how everybody, like it kind of gave this illusion that, oh, the gatekeepers will go away, everybody will have a direct kind of an access to it's their own
Yeah,
audience, etc. You had so many musicians, you can have your own songs
yeah,
becoming chart toppers or whatever, you name it, or films, you can make films,
yeah,
and there are very very kind of uh, how should I put it? The very few, literally very rare few uh, cases that
absolutely.
made that came out as a serious exception of
Absolutely.
what I am trying to say. Most of it is it just so in that book, The Death of Artists, it actually maps these entire processes and very in a serious way kind of engages with this idea of not only understanding what art and artwork is about and what artist actually does, but what is more important here is to understand the political economy. And now with IT, I mean, it's just like saying Uber is a media company as against not a public transportation company. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
So whatever, no longer artist is an is some tech company and not an
Yes,
artistic endeavor.
exactly.
So it just kind of there's a divorce in
Yeah.
that sense of intent, and that makes it very it for uninitiated. It totally either confuses them or
Yeah.
uh, they go with the obvious ongoing trend. So it
Yeah.
depends. Uh,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
whether somebody makes money or not, money making is not the proof of success, isn't it?
Well,
Because
I
I mean, somebody can just come and say, yeah, I mean, you can make money on anything for that
yeah.
matter. Speculation is the game. So that should
Yeah.
not be the criteria to
Yeah.
call it an art or whatever it is.
I agreed, agreed, agreed. So I'd like to spend a bit more time talking about your book. So the title of the book is Form as History, when history no longer requires us. So what is the central idea really around your book? And I know
Yeah, it's a complex, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a complex idea, but maybe let me try. It is the same thing as with art, like we all are into this doom scroll, which gives us visibility, while art gives us an encounter. That is a fact. And but now we live in this world where so much is happening, wars, and mm, uh, the huge amount of social uh, disintegration, let's put it like that in
Yeah.
the simplest form, across the world, poverty, you name it,
Yeah.
everything is there. The thing is, my book began with all these things happening around, seeing these things around. It began from this concern that we live in a time of saturated, a time that is saturated with history, images, testimony, archives, crisis. Yet many things seem unable to command a moral response. In simple terms, we look, we observe, perhaps, I would say. We just look, but we observe, we take a little step sometimes. We see things happening, we are witness, but we are not able to, what we are seeing, that is not able to demand a moral response from us. Whether it is poverty, you walk
Yeah.
downtown, you see a homeless chap on there who greets you or not, whatever it is. We walk by, we observe, look at it. But then how do we look at it? Does that sight or that act of looking at the homeless or
Yeah.
anything else,
Anything. Yeah. Yeah.
the reality that is there, or something that comes on your doom scroll, or whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
does it make, does how how it is unable to command
Yeah.
a moral response?
Yeah. Yeah.
So why it is so?
Mm-hmm.
Why, for me, this is a big crisis.
It is.
It's a very deep moral crisis of our age.
Yeah.
And that is where this book is coming from. And there are two central words there. It is about the notion of abandonment and the idea of address. And I elaborate on that in a philosophical sense, like how no longer, what I'm trying to say is, as if when we walk on a in downtown of any city anywhere in the world, and you see a homeless person out there, we are walking as if we are the history, which has nothing to do with this homeless person. That that
Yeah.
our walk, our passing by that homeless,
Mm-hmm.
has nothing to do with the homeless,
Yeah.
while we are definitely connected. So it is so what I'm trying to say here is, like, these complex understanding of our place in society, our being
Yeah.
in society, and the the broader makeup of society, so to say, and its politics hence, are something which are currently under a huge moral
Yeah.
crisis, undergoing
Yeah.
huge moral crisis.
Yeah.
It is not about good or bad. It is not about right or wrong. It is about, we are undergoing the biggest crisis of our age is the moral crisis. And if it is so, what is the role of history
Yeah.
in this? And that is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
answer in a
And
way.
and I think what you're getting at with your first point is this inability to be engaged anymore by, and which technically makes sense because that flow of information we're getting is dampening our senses. It's a bit making our how can I say that? Our it's buffering. It's buffering the way we access and address some information. So, and it's not about the fact that we're getting used to more things, which I think there is also that aspect of, well, the bar keep lowering. So now, well, we get used to a lower bar, but I don't think that it's what you're talking about. What you're talking about is regardless of where the bar is, even if the bar was still at the same level than 50 years ago, we would not be able to engage with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the challenge. It's not this idea. You took the example of homeless person, but that could be anything. That could be anything. And it's really, again, back to, we're going to the beginning of our conversation. It's also rooted into this lack of ability to be present, thinking as well. I think we lost the art of thinking.
Yeah.
You were referring to your teachers and how they help you build the way you think. I think we lost a lot of that, let's be honest. And plus that deluge of information that makes it easier to not engage. So to your point now, whatever happens, who cares? Why should I care?
Yeah. So why should I care is precisely the epitomic kind of expression of disengagement.
Yeah.
And everything gets inwardly, you know, diverted. And so so it it lay like as one digs into all these issues at a very deeper political, I mean, within the realm of political philosophy, these are very complex, serious issues that people have spoken and written, and many are writing about it and thinking about it to talk about, to make sense of ourselves. Basically, that's what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how the book came about.
Yeah. And I mean, we could be talking for the next 2 hours. I know you're gonna have to go, but I would love to know, where can people find your work? What I know you're curating. I know if people want to see something you're curated, they can go to the AGO in Toronto. I'm sure many will be interested in getting more about you. Can you tell them quickly? And I will put anyway in the show notes so they can get the details as well.
I mean, my book, they're available. If you just Google the title and myself, my name, I think you will get some things. I would appreciate if you can buy it from independent bookstores and the publisher, for that matter. Just plug in and
it is at the AGO. I checked last week. It's still there.
Yes, it is there, and it is at other places and available all over the world. And if not, through any of those online stores. I don't want to plug their names.
Absolutely.
But you know what I'm talking
Which
about.
one you're talking about, exactly.
So it is basically the book and readings. Again, I write for multiple platforms and publications, etc. And they're all online. I unfortunately don't have any website. I don't keep much digital footprint. I don't have an Instagram because any of those accounts, unfortunately. So if you just Google, you will. If somebody digs in a bit, takes time, then it's fine. But I'm not easily available.
So,
just like that.
It's in the Naked Punch that you've been.
Punch,
Naked Punch.
Naked Punch Review is a art, philosophy, politics.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Journal from London, England. I write in some South Asian newspapers. I write in Canada with Hill Times. So with Open Canada, a bunch of places. Depending on what it is, and The Wire is the other place where I write.
Oh yes.
So so and range of things depending on how it is. But it's always helpful for me to do this writing, because as I say, that writing is essentially playing with ideas and kind of working out my longer thought processes.
And talking about curation of art, people who are in Toronto can see the exhibition of Reinbeer. That's what I was mentioning.
At AGO, it is on till January, and hopefully you will get another info about another forthcoming exhibition that I'll be curating in month of June.
Looking forward to it.
Yes. So it's a major show. So that is it. But I'm generally active on the international scene on art in London, in Paris, Geneva, and the usual places.
So the best way is to set up a Google alert with your name, and basically it's going to do the work, to curate and not curate, collate everything that you're putting out. Maybe that's the best way to do it.
Lovely. I hope. I just didn't have time to really put it all together. I was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
busy. Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
Okay.
that
Well,
would be very sweet. Thanks.
thank you so much, Narendra, for taking the time. I mean, I'm so sorry. I realize we really spoke longer, but I really loved the conversation. You're gonna have to come back because I feel we only scratched the surface. I hope we're gonna have questions and comments that might be leading to other conversations. You're also a voracious book reader, so maybe once in a while we can talk about a book you enjoy or that maybe you didn't enjoy, but that brought you great insights. So thank you so much for taking the time. Really, that was a delight, and I cannot wait to hear about that new art curation that's still under wraps.
Thank you, Peggy. What a delight, as always,
Have
chatting
a
with you.
have a wonderful day. Bye, Narendra. Thank you.
Bye.